matches down, one match remains. It's about time we talk about the Afterthought and Linked Up series that is about to go down. Hunted, what are your thoughts about these two teams? We heard from Samael and Jay earlier on in the stream, but now I want to hear both your thoughts.
Well, we've seen them both play today. They both have won their matchups. Granted, Afterthought was a clean sweep. It took 5 games for Linked Up to win theirs against the Zookeepers. But, you know, coming into today, I thought, you know, I kind of planned this out sort of in seeing both of those teams win and then coming together and seeing how they matched up. It's so hard to bet against Afterthought. When you have experienced players like Sathu, Shock, and Dapper, even when going up against a guy like Joe Freshness or a guy like Sosa or Alpha Cap, it's such a hard matchup. I just don't see how Linked Up can break that team.
I think that Linked Up, personally going into this match, like the fact that everyone thinks that Hunted. This is their chance to prove themselves against Afterthought, and they're going to take that opportunity all the way through. And on paper, Afterthought completely has the edge in this matchup. We've seen them play earlier today against FMG, dominant 3-0 win. Linked Up struggled here against Zookeepers, almost got swept, had to pull off the reverse sweep. But both teams should be fired up and ready to go as we get ready to get into our last matchup of the day. Like I said, this looks like an Afterthought win, but I feel like Linked Up know that they're the underdogs in this matchup, and they're going to want to come out with a win.
Linked Up have the most to prove in this matchup, that's for sure, especially after they were forced to wake up in an uncomfortable position during that series, almost being swept every single game, though, going just 1 goal differential at the end of it, and they won 3 overtimes in a row to take the victory there. So they are ready. They've played tons of Rocket League in that first series. Now they're looking for this next one. Definitely want to hear the chat's votes as well. So !LNK for Linked Up and !AFT for Afterthought to let us know what you all think. And before we even throw it to the match specifically, Hunted and Daz, we kind of know your thoughts, but I want to hear them officially. What your thoughts are on who's going to win this one?
Yeah, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Afterthought 3-0.
Okay, all right. I knew you were coming out strong. I didn't know it was that strong. Okay. All right, I need to rearrange some things in my
Hey,
head.
just for reference, Des, I was right about the last series to the game.
Yes, you were. I don't know if you're going to be right about this one. I'll give it Afterthought in 4. I'm not as passionate as Hunted is about this particular matchup. I do think Afterthought are looking strong, and I think Linked Up have a challenge here. They looked a little shaky today. It's going to be tough for them to really adjust into playing against this team. I'm excited for whoever wins this either way, but as it stands currently, it looks like Afterthought have the edge, so I'll give it to them 3-1.
It's going to be a great matchup between these two teams, and I feel like that's enough about trying to predict how things are going. Take it away, guys. I really want to see how this match goes down.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Vaudable. We are just about ready to get underway with game number 1 between Linked Up and Afterthought. And Daz, we both peg Afterthought for this team that should come out swinging, should be hot and ready to go. But what does Linked Up need to do to take it to Afterthought in game 1 and kind of surprise them?
Honestly, coming out, a very consistent play here. Afterthought is a team that's going to punish you if you make a lot of mistakes on your own end. And what Linked Up have to do is just play some really strong, consistent Rocket League. And I'm excited to see what they can do here.
Well, game number 1 is underway. Linked Up in blue, Afterthought in orange. First shot goes to Sosa. Saved by Sathu to start us off early on here in game number 1. Shock plays it out of his own corner. He's got Dapper in support. Alpha kept to take him out of the play, but Shock gets back to the ball. Flick over top of Sosa. Takes the boost and lets Sathu try this one. Comes down out in front. Dapper scores. 1-0 for Afterthought.
Blink and you'll miss it. Afterthought score first here. Sathu. What a challenge there. And although Alpha Cap, he struggles to get a touch, he knocks it right into Dapper, who comes through, cleans it up, and gives Afterthought their first.
1-0 in favor of Afterthought. Early on, only 30 seconds in. Now it's up to Linked Up to try to respond here in kind. Sosa, one-on-one against Dapper. Flick is nearly over the top of him, but Dapper does make the play. Joe Freshness now looking for a play out in front. Sosa will keep the ball rolling. This Linked Up team known to be very, very aggressive, Dazarin, and they're already kind of showing that quick rotation, really cutting it to make these plays start to work.
Yeah, I'm really excited, though, to see just how well we get that physical play in. You see Safi with the demo looking for another one, but that's Joe Freshness. He'll grab one. Back and forth are the demos as both teams fire for possession. A quick shot, and Alpha Cap will have to work for that save. He won't hit it into Dapper this time as they keep the deficit down to 1.
Alpha just stretching out to make that play. Only 1 goal difference now as Dapper, quick shot saved on the goal line by Joe, and he'll control to find the clear away, although gives the ball up to Sathi with that flick. Now it's Sosa to try to push it back. Shock and Dapper both watching this into the blue zone. Great pass. Shock is there. Touch to Dapper. Score! Afterthought up by 2.
Impressive touch from Shock there. You see Dapper wins the challenge, hands it over, and the soft touch is all he needs. He doesn't even let it touch the ground before he powers it into the linked up net. Strong start here for Afterthought in game 1.
2-0 for Afterthought. Beauty of a goal. Nice little team play. Solid passing. Dapper finds himself with 2. This could be an opportunity for Shock. He can't beat Alpha Cup to the ball. 2 minutes gone by here in game 1. Good demo on Joe Freshness. Nobody to follow up. Alpha will try to do something here, but it will be Dapper to control and cleared. Flick over top of Joe. This comes hard off the back wall. Shock is there, but Sosa is as well. Eventually, the ball finds its way back to the orange half, where we continue to play 2-0, nearing halftime.
Strong clear from Sosa to even start this offensive attempt. Good patience there. Linked up are starting to warm up in this matchup. They're down by 2. They have half the game left, but they are starting to put on some pressure here from Afterthought as they control the ball.
Here's Alpha into the corner. Clear away by Sathu. Joe Freshness has Sosa there. He goes way up high. No follow-up as Alpha rotating back now. Doesn't have a lot of boost to his name. Won't pick any up there, but he does get the clear. Using what little boost he does have to try to play this on net towards Sathu. Now it's Dapper. Right into Joe Freshness. Again, this game has slowed down quite a bit since that first minute. But 2 goals to Afterthought's name, and they are more than happy to play this slow, methodical game.
This is kind of a drawback to our last series with Compadres versus Phoenix, where we saw Compadres consistent boomer clears, and they can give up the ball, they give up the possession, and they don't have control. What we want to see from Linked Up, just more control moving this ball downfield. Don't give Afterthought time to really continue to hold that ball in midfield, because look at, they're setting up offensive plays and they're choking you on your own half.
There's Joe. He will get over the first man in Sathu, but Shock is off the back wall right to Dapper. Can't quite get the double touch. Shock is there. He'll follow up and score. It's 3-0 now. Afterthought rolling over the Linked Up defense.
Sosa was beat on the ball. He wasn't able to rotate back. It's just Alpha Cap, and he gets bumped by Dapper, I believe. Very uncomfortable spot for him to make that save. And they are not looking that good as Afterthought continue to increase their scoreline 3-0 with 1:10 left.
Now Dapper clears it off his back wall. There's Joe Freshness. Can't get by Sathu. He'll turn around and try to play it back towards his teammate. Sathu's on it. Alpha wins the challenge. Can't win that one, though. And we continue to play 3-0 now with just about 50 seconds left. This goes towards the back wall. Easily cleared away from the orange side by Dapper. And unless things change in a hurry here, Dazarin, it looks to be a 1-0 lead in the series. Good save from Sathu there. That will most likely secure this first game. Linked Up, they haven't looked poor. It's just they have not looked on the level of Afterthought so far in the series.
Yeah, Afterthought reading and reacting very well. Look at Sathu with the dribble. Can he find Joe Freshness? No, Joe Freshness will get a touch on the ball, and that won't increase to 4. But if you watch these two teams, how they move this ball up and down the field, it is night and day comparing Afterthought to Linked Up. Linked Up, they just want to get the ball out of the zone. They're not thinking about what comes afterwards. Meanwhile, Afterthought, it's like a chess game. 2 steps ahead. Except for that, I don't know what they're doing there. I'm not going to lie. Ball will hit the ground, and Afterthought will take game number 1.
That they will. A 3-0 victory over Linked Up in game 1. Sets them up well for game number 2. And again, it really feels like Afterthought is just the faster team right now. They're winning mid-challenges. They're making better plays, smarter plays with the ball, and we've even seen a little bit of solid passing. Dapper getting 2 goals in that game. One of them came from a solid pass, I believe was Shock out of the corner. It was just a slight touch. Opens up all the space Dapper needs. All he has to do is beat that last defenseman, and he did. It's been Afterthought's game. What can Linked Up do to change that?
They have to take more control of the ball there. There are a lot of times where they're just going for challenges just because the ball's in front of their goal line and they want to knock it away. But one of the goals scored was just based off of Safu getting in front of them and just applying the pressure by immediately attacking the ball, forcing Linked Up to play out of a very uncomfortable spot. And then it leads to a mistake, and they just capitalize off of the mistake. And they do it time and time again. Linked Up have to have more control of possession, not give it up so easily, and not put themselves in a bad spot if they want to play against Afterthought.
Well, we'll see if they make that change here in game number 2. I'm certainly interested to see how they can start to try to match that speed that Afterthought, I should say, has shown early on in this series. They are definitely, like I said, the faster team when it comes to getting up to those double touches or at least to those mid challenges. And it has been something that I would really like to see Linked Up try to at least get a little bit better on. And it's also worth mentioning, we didn't get a chance to talk about it too much, Daz. The solo plays and the flicks have been beautiful from Afterthought.
I mean, you look at Saki, inventor of the Saf flick, and then Dapper, just constantly a great mechanical player. You almost come to expect it from this team. People have been watching Shock. He's taking over the late night stream times, and he may not be the most mechanical player, but he's definitely one of the brains on that roster. It all just comes together and works very well for this team.
Well, we are into game number 2 now as Dapper gets up quickly and makes the touch. It's 1-0 early on again for Afterthought.
And banger here. You see Joe Freshness looking for the pass. You have to give so much credit to Shock. He cuts off the pass from Joe to Alpha and then turns it into a pass to Dapper. Dapper's up so quickly to knock that in. A tremendous, just pure reflexes and trust on Afterthought, and it pays off big time.
So again, not even a minute old, and Afterthought find themselves in the lead in game number 2 now. Dapper would love to extend that. However, Sosa clears it back down. Gives Satu a little bit of trouble around the goal line. Kept in by Joe. Out in front. Alpha scores. Tied up at 1 now, just past the minute mark.
This is what Linked Up need here. Shock. Although he's close to the ball, he doesn't win the 50 with Joe Freshness. It throws off the defense from Afterthought. And Linked Up, they get a first goal here. Now they equalize. They say, okay, we can play level here. Let's try to get this game 2 in our favor.
Off the kickoff. Sosa plays it into the orange zone. Joe Freshness slightly towards the net. That's easily cleared away by Shock. Back and forth the teams go. Again, mid challenges so very important. It's looked a little bit better from Linked Up, and because of that, they've gotten a couple of good shot opportunities. But Sathu sneaks one in from a sharp angle. It's 2-1.
Dapper hands it off to Sathu. He gets 1 touch and then a little bit of extra power there. Defender and net, I believe that was Sosa, could not read it, and they drop another goal. The momentum that they did have at this point is starting to diminish as they let that one in.
Now Sathu looks to turn it around. Joe Freshness with a clear. Dapper looking for Shock, not going to find anything there. Sosa will eventually play it into the orange half. Light touch down the pitch, Joe Freshness. And now Dapper has Shock in support. Weak shot towards the net, easy save for Alpha Cap. Now he is pushing it down the field. There's Sosa over top of Sathu. We've played 2 minutes in game number 2. It's only a 1-goal lead. Linked Up have finally scored in the series. They still need another goal to tie things up. Afterthought, they've had to play a little bit more defense this game, but they've done very well to do so. They haven't given up a lot of quality opportunities as of yet.
They have not, but also linked up, they need to put them in really tough situations. They haven't been able to do that. A little bit antsy on the ball. Early play here, and Sosa won't be able to touch it. Afterthought should be coming in on the rotation, but he's late, and he's beat all the way downfield. Dapper couldn't come up with a goal there, but the rotation from linked up not looking too linked up, I should say, as they have given up a lot in transition.
Oh, wow. Shock scores that off the side one. It's 3-1, and this all comes off the play that you were talking about. It started because of a late challenge by the last man back for linked up, and it is the exact thing we were talking about in between games 1 and 2. The mid challenges are late from linked up, and they're punished for it.
That's pretty much the name of the game from Afterthought. They're a very consistent Rocket League team, and what they'll do is, since they know that they can play well, they'll wait for you to make the mistake and just open up the net for them. They know that they have a lot of confidence. This is a very experienced roster. And it comes to show, just they're not doing too much of anything fancy. I mean, that's a slow roller from Dapper, but look how it's opened up. Safi, he takes this one, just carries it on the hood, beats Sosa to the ball. Dapper immediately on top of it. Joe thinks he's going to go high. He shoots it under him, and we're 4-1.
Somehow that ball sneaks under Joe Freshness. Dapper gets his second of the game. I believe that's his fourth of the series. Solid afternoon thus far for Dapper. Love to keep that going, but they need to score game number 2 now. They have a 3-goal lead, but there is still about 95 seconds left to go. If linked up can pot one here, it'll certainly give them hope, but Dapper will turn it around. There's Sathi, who doesn't get a touch. Allows Joe Freshness to rotate back, cleared off his own goal line, but time ticking ever more quickly as Sosa almost gets that pass. Good play by Dapper to cut it off, and Sathi will clear. Into the corner now. Shock around the sidewall. He looks for a touch. He'll find it. It's 5-1. And boy, has Afterthought spread the love in this game on offense.
And you might be right with this 3-0 prediction. I really don't know how to feel here about linked up in this particular game. It's a hill that keeps getting steeper and steeper. They have not been able to find anything on the offensive end, and it's been constant Afterthought control here in game 2, and it just continues to grow. We still got a minute of game time left, but they're down by 4 against Afterthought.
Well, the saving grace for me for linked up is that they're, with Rocket League and the fact that we play 5-minute games best of 5, is that there's an opportunity to reset, right? You have game number 2, it didn't go your way. Now game 3 is just about to begin. It'll be 0-0 yet again, and you can make those adjustments. So it's certainly not impossible for linked up, and they've reverse swept in the past. I mean, they did that today, in fact.
Yeah.
So it's not something that is impossible for them. They just need to make the right adjustments, come out with the right attitude in game 3, and not let Afterthought get on top of them early.
Yeah, the break between this and game 3 is going to be pretty much a difference maker for linked up. They'll have to reverse sweep again. That'd be 2 in one day. That would be a phenomenal performance from them. But they got to get there first. Game 2 finishes, and Afterthought take this series to match point.
Could you imagine just the feeling of if you were a player on linked up and you completed 2 reverse sweeps in one day? Just how relieved you would feel at the end of the day that you don't have to play anymore under that stress.
That's a new slogan. It's going to be like, don't take G2 to game 5, don't take linked up to game 5.
Yeah. Well, they do have to complete that reverse sweep, and it's got to start with game number 3. The first one is always the most difficult, and Afterthought, they show no signs of stopping. They want this sweep. They want to be done and over with today. Going 2-0 on the day, not dropping a game if they were able to win game 3. And again, I have to ask you, Dazarin, linked up, it seems like they're trying their best, but it's not enough. What do they need to do to stop Afterthought?
Just get in front of them, get in their way. I mean, there's a lot that they have to clean up. This was a very dominant win from Afterthought. There is definitely no one thing here in particular. They were very slow. The rotations weren't on point. There was a play where Joe Freshness called off Sosa, who was going for a challenge. Not Joe Freshness, Alpha kept called off Sosa. And Alpha was extremely late to the ball, didn't even touch the ball, and it completely threw off the rotations. Afterthought just took possession, pushed it downfield, and I believe they came out with a goal or a very close chance. And that's what I mean. If we're going to have like communication disruptions, you got to be on top of your game. And I think for them, they just really need to step things up in all areas.
Well, with that, we are underway with game number 3. And again, as I said, scores back down to 0-0 and a fresh start for Linked Up. We'll see what they can do with it. Got to play defense early on, however. Joe Freshness clears it off his back wall. Dapper has support in Satu in mid. Dapper, what a touch! Can he get this one home? Not quite. Just rolls off towards the side wall, and Joe Freshness sees it clear. Actually keeps control of it. Can't win the 50. Alpha will help him out, but gives the ball away to Dapper. Now Afterthought look to break out of their own zone. There's Dapper by Joe Freshness into the corner now as Alpha kept will play it away. Good on Sosa there to run interference for his teammate. It will turn into a clear eventually. Bump onto Shock, forces Dapper to cut across and play this one. Great touch from Sosa, no follow-up though. Alpha was well off in the distance, not expecting that play, but either way, it's solid from Linked Up now. This is the first game in the series where they haven't been down in the first minute, and Satu might have just given this away. Alpha kept shot, but it's not hard enough. Can't beat shot.
It looked like a break there, but the defense does get back on time. I am liking what I'm seeing from Linked Up on the offensive end. The problem is once that ball gets to the midfield, they kind of disappear. You see Shock, he has so much room here. No one challenging him until pretty much he's in box territory. And it allows Afterthought just so much room to work with.
Well, here's Sosa. Gets challenged by Satu. Dapper turns. Wins the 50. That's just wide. Shock's there. Good save from Joe off the back wall to deny Shock on the shot. 2 minutes just about gone here in game 3. We are still tied up at 0. We will be the first team to break this tie. It's been pretty close on either side. Nobody's been able to break the defense, but for Linked Up though, that was their second official shot on the board. Maybe Joe Freshness gets a third. He does, but really nothing dangerous as of yet on the orange net.
They're just applying so much pressure, getting in front of the ball, putting it really in front of that box as much as they can, but they're not giving each other enough space. And Afterthought on that particular play, just like a wall in terms of being able to stop them in front and clear it out. Now they got to play on their own back end. And this is really tough. This is where Afterthought sent a shine. I said that Sosa gets a dunk. Will he be able to follow it in? Shock's there. He remains patient and gets a good clear.
Now this could be dangerous the other way. Dapper doesn't get the dunk. Now the transition for Linked Up is in effect. Good play by Satu. Shock to follow and clear it off the back wall, though Sosa is there to keep the pressure on. Alpha wins that 50. It goes into the far corner. Sosa towards the front. Good save by Dapper. Saw Alpha kept coming and makes the play. They'll have to rotate to this ball. Now he's late to it. Gives Sosa a chance to play it. Satu is there. This just gonna bounce harmlessly towards Alpha where he tries to make a play. Bounces down in front, one-on-one with Satu. Sosa and Joe both there trying to make something happen. They've got to be careful because now it's a 2-on-1 the other way. Satu flicks. That one's off the top of the goal. Not quite good enough from Satu there, and we continue to play tied at 0.
Satu with the ball on his hood is a scary sight. Almost hits a Saf flick in the top corner. Just barely off target. Same for Shock's shot. Afterthought are starting to heat up here as we approach the final minute of game 3. Linked Up, again, taking control, getting possession in their hands. They need to do it if they want to stop Afterthought because they are ramping up shot after shot. Another one comes through from Shock, and the pressure's not stopping.
Good play. There's Satu, tries to touch it down. Sosa read it. Makes that play before it could develop. Joe Freshness will find the clear. They need to keep the ball in the orange zone, and they're not going to be able to do so. Sosa slows it down in the blue corner, but Shock keeps it in the zone yet again. Approaching the final 30 seconds now of game 3. Towards the net, good clear from Alpha. Alpha, one more touch. And eventually it turns into a clear. So a solid defensive sequence there from Alpha Cap. Keeps this game still knotted up at 0. This is an opportunity. Good save from Dapper. Sosa can't beat Sathu. And my goodness, Dazarin, we could see overtime here in game 3.
Looking like an overtime indeed. Linked Up are starting to warm up. Joe Freshness, what a dunk in the final 8 seconds of game 3.
Sosa, a great pass as well. Sathu doesn't get the touch he wanted. He had a read on it, just not there in time. And you said it, Joe Freshness with the dunk puts Linked Up by 1 with 8 seconds to go. This one's in mid. Dapper to Shock. Shock doesn't beat Alpha Cap to the ball. This could be it. That will do it. Linked Up win game 3. We're going to a 4th game.
And we're going to game 4. Again, if there's a chance for a reverse sweep, it is now between these two. And what a game 3. Linked Up. They looked a little shaky. There was some chances for Afterthought. Afterthought had plenty of chances to score, but their shots were just way off target, and they couldn't find the back of the net. That being said, Joe Freshness, crucial dunk there. That gives Linked Up a lot of energy, but they still have 2 more games to go if they want to pull this reverse sweep off.
Well, like I said, the first game is always the most difficult one to find, and they've done it. Now it's time to find the second in that series of 3 for Afterthought. They had a lot of offensive pressure in that game. No goals to speak of, Dazarin. Is that a warning sign to you, or did it just feel like an off game?
There was a lot of, like, the pace of the game shifted a lot between both teams. Towards the final minute, Afterthought had so much momentum going forward, you thought they would come out with a goal. But we saw Linked Up also wake up at that moment, match that speed, and they were able to catch Afterthought off guard, with the Joe Freshness dunk. So it's been back and forth between both of these two. I think this is really Linked Up playing the way that a lot of their fans want them to.
Well, we'll see if they continue that play here into game number 4. It's a must-win game yet again for them if they want to keep this series alive. This is a crucial one for both teams. Really starts to sort out the top end of the rival series bracket in North America. Whichever team does win this one. Right now, Afterthought in a good position. Up 2-1 in the series, but Alpha Cap, he's got the ball on his hood. Sathu takes it away. Dapper over top of 1. Sosa's on the goal line to make this clear, and he'll handle it well. Game number 4 underway, just 30 seconds in, still no score. I would not be surprised if we see another close one here, Dad.
With Linked Up taking that win, they have a lot of energy, and they know that they can do this. I would not also be surprised if we see another close one here, Hunted. The way Linked Up have been playing, stepping up to the plate here versus Afterthought, and they're going to make Afterthought earn a win if they want to take them down.
Great touch from Alpha. Gives it up to Sosa, who knocks it home. But Alpha, the pass, the bump, the goal, it's 1-0 Linked Up.
He gets a flick and a bump at the same time, and Sosa's able to come through and clean it up. Good follow-up from Sosa, but amazing bump there from Alpha Cap. And this puts Linked Up on the board very early here in Game 4.
There's a touch. Sosa doesn't beat Dapper to it. Had a redirect opportunity. Dapper was well aware of what was going on. He makes the play. So 1-0 still for Linked Up. Here's Joe Freshness with a chance, looking for Alpha Cap. Just out of reach. Sosa out of the corner. No follow-up as of yet, but another good solid cut from Sosa. Joe Freshness towards Alpha. Dapper has to make the play, and it really looks like Afterthought getting hemmed in their zone now, and this is, again, the aggressiveness from Linked Up that we're so used to seeing.
Linked Up, this is a very good play from them. Afterthought struggling in their own defensive end here, and look at the amount of possession Linked Up were able to get. They do eliminate it, but there's Joe Freshness cutting things off in the midfield line. They weren't able to do that earlier on in the series, and they really have pressure here in Game 4.
And pressure and a lead to boot. But there's still plenty of time. 3 minutes, in fact, for the 1 goal to be scored by Afterthought to tie us up. As now Joe Freshness out of his zone. Has Shock. There's Sathu to clear. Back down into the blue half where Alpha Cap will control. Sathu wins that 50. Now Shock towards the net. That's off the back wall. And Joe Freshness can't quite clear the zone. Dapper has Shock in mid. Sathu's there as well. Looking for some kind of ceiling touch. A lot of wasted time. That gave Linked Up all the time they needed to rotate back on defense.
And look at Linked Up right now. You see Sosa, he's taking this one up. A great touch, and he's also following up looking for a dunk. Shock's able to bring this one all the way back, and they continue to hold on to the ball. But for Linked Up, this game is in their hands as we approach the bottom half of Game 4. They're playing very well, and they're forcing Afterthought to match with their speed versus vice versa as that ball enters the box.
Even with the solid play, the quick clears, the offensive opportunities, Linked Up only have been able to score one. However, Afterthought have not been able to find the goal in quite some time. Unable to score last game, haven't been able to crack the defense in this one either. Would love to see one go in here with only just about 95 seconds left to go. There's Dapper out in front. Shock shoots right into the defenders. Joe Freshness gets credit for the save, but it's a team effort to find the clear. Sosa's there, but Dapper will cut that pass off. Sathu trying to activate on offense. Joe Freshness takes it away. He plays it over towards Sosa. Quick shot, that's wide. Sathu over Alpha. Could this be it? Alpha rotates in time. Wonderful reaction time from Alpha kept to keep that out of the goal. But my goodness, Afterthought is pressing now.
Shock with a miss, and Sathu will have to clean it up. Shock accidentally dunks his teammate. He slows things down, which allows Dapper, who wants to grab boost, a chance to rotate in. With a minute remaining here, ball on, well, Afterthoughts, and now they let go of pressure. But they're going to have some work to do as Linked Up just look really strong right now.
There's Joe Freshness out of the corner. Comes down in front towards Sosa, just over his head. Final 40 seconds, game number 4. A 1-0 lead for Linked Up. If they keep it, we go to game 5. Alpha over and under 2 defenders. Now Sosa by Shock. That one's just off the top of the wall where it will be eventually cleared. Sosa cuts off the play. Rotating back now is Dapper. Looking at the clock, only 20 seconds left to go. Joe Freshness to keep it in, wasting a good amount of time trying to go underneath Sathu, wins that 50. 13 seconds now. Into the blue zone we go where Sosa collects. Gets by Shock, but Sathu's there. He's got Dapper in mid, towards the net. It's high. Nobody gets the touch. It's in the net. Sathu scores. 1-1 with 3 seconds left.
Unbelievable in the final 10. Dapper, the miss between Alpha and Sathu with the follow-up splash. As we get ready to go into overtime, potentially, we got one more kickoff, but what a play there by Afterthought.
In the final seconds of regulation, tick by Alpha, has an opportunity, can't get by Shock. Clutch play from Shock to save that one, and Joe Freshness hits it into the dirt. We're tied up at 1, game 4 overtime.
Overtime, and the kickoff goes towards Linked Up. Alpha kept left to get this one past Sathu as the ball drops. Kickoff dictates control for the most part. Afterthought are looking to continue to apply that same momentum that got them the overtime in the first place.
Here's Sathu challenging Joe in the corner. This one's towards the front of the net. Alpha kept up to Sosa. He'll hit it towards the orange goal. Dapper's there to clear it away. Joe Freshness keeps it in. Bump onto Shock out of the corner, but he can't quite do anything. Alpha Cap now deals in front. Nobody there for the follow-up. Sosa playing the defensive ball now. He'll control, tries to go by Sathu. Runs into Dapper instead, but Joe Freshness will turn it around. Continue to play in overtime. A tense game 4. Both teams making this series so very competitive. Neither one want to drop this game. It is a must-win for Linked Up, and now Sathu has some space to work with. He's got Shock in support. He'll leave it for Shock. Demo in goal. Dapper's there! Off the post! One more score! Sathu wins the game and the series for Afterthought in overtime, game 4.
And what a play. Like you said, all the way downfield was Sathu. Demo 1, steal boost. Demo 2, my team can't put the ball in the net. I'll do it myself if I have to. And he earns Afterthought the 3-1 victory against Linked Up. And what a series that was. Linked Up showed signs of life coming into this game 4. But after the last 10 seconds, Afterthought come up with a clutch play. They get some momentum, and they let Sathu loose, and he just comes through big for them there.
And Daz, it's got to feel heartbreaking for Linked Up. In games 3 and 4, 10 minutes of Rocket League, they held Afterthought scoreless through 9 minutes and 57 seconds of that. And yet it still wasn't enough to give them victory in both games. A crazy play. I really thought Linked Up had game 4 wrapped up. 3 seconds left, just the smallest of missed touches on the back wall. Give the opportunity to Afterthought, and they ran with it, winning in overtime, of course. And what a solid series. Both teams look so good, but eventually it will be Afterthought taking the victory.
A hard-fought victory for Afterthought, but heartbreaking defeat from Linked Up. I want to throw it to Vod. Vod, you watched that one. Give me your thoughts on what you thought.
So I thought there was going to be potential for that Game 5 and a reverse sweep, especially during pretty much all of Game 4. We saw Linked Up just come out to play. They showed us their potential after that win in the game previously, and then it just kind of fell apart as soon as overtime happened. Unfortunately for them, I feel like that just kind of threw them off their kilter just a little too much, and Sathu obviously able to capitalize there for that final goal. So great work by Afterthought. But speaking of that Game 4 and how long it took for Afterthought to finally get a goal into that matchup, and even the previous one as well, what really was the main factor that Linked Up used to keep them at bay for such a long time?
Well, to me, it was, again, I mean, how many times have we talked about the play in mid and the speed that it takes to get there? I mean, Daz and I touched on it in games 1 and 2. Linked Up were slow to the ball. So many missed challenges because nobody wanted to go for it or they were hesitant. I didn't see any of that from Linked Up in games 3 and 4. Granted, Afterthought looked a little bit more on edge, maybe, a little bit less willing to go for the aggressive plays. But either way, Linked Up used that to their advantage, and it paid dividends. They kept everything away from the front of the net, gave Afterthought no chance. But eventually, of course, that last second goal. But it was a wonderful 2 games for Linked Up.
Linked Up, in terms of how they came out, very slow compared to Afterthought. Afterthought really made a statement in the earlier first 2 games, especially with that dominant 5-goal victory.
Yeah.
And Linked Up had a really tough time coming back after that. They didn't want to go down with a sweep, and they didn't. And they tried to see if they could force it into Game 5, but they just slipped right at the last second. And they couldn't recover from that point after the overtime was forced.
It's so hard when you are so close to getting that Game 5 and you can feel it at your fingertips, and then an insane play is pulled off by the opposing team, and none other than Afterthought, who they struggled against in the first 2 games, being the ones to do that. So we did talk about how they kind of lack that midfield presence, and going into the remaining weeks, because this is the debut 2 matches, they are now 1-1 on the season. What can they do to improve their midfield presence as the season goes on?
Well, certainly, I do just want to say first that that Linked Up should be happy with a 1-1 record after today, especially against the teams they played against. But to your question directly, they need to prioritize, again, winning those midfield challenges, making sure that they're on the ball when is necessary. And that could come down to a couple of different things, whether it's a speed thing or a communication or confidence thing. They're going to have to work that out on their own. Obviously, we don't get to listen in on their comms, so you don't really know what it's like for them. But I harp so much on mid presence, but it's so important when teams are this fast and this good at clearing the ball.
Yeah, for Linked Up, again, the pace that Afterthought came out with was something that they weren't expecting, which makes sense, especially compared to the Zookeepers matchup. It seems for them they always start slow and they have to ramp up into a series, but that puts them in a tough spot all the time. We've seen it earlier on in today. They went 3 overtimes against Zookeepers in order to reverse sweep, and then they tried to play against Afterthought, and that same strategy is just not going to work with them because they know that they need to finish out a series, and they don't get really stricken by the fact that, okay, we're up 2-0, let's kind of put a foot off the gas pedal. No, they're going to keep going all the way through, and that was really tough for Linked Up to get involved with. What they have to do is they have to start strong, not try to start strong halfway through the series, because that's just not going to work.
That's what took so long for them in both those series. They had to go into overtime in all three of those games to really get things going against the Zookeepers. And if things continue that way, and it takes so long for them to get started in all of their matches to come, it's not going to look very good for them moving forward, especially against teams like Afterthought, like we saw Charlotte. Those are going to be some of the teams that they're going to struggle against even more if they even make it to those regional playoffs, because there is so much tough competition here at the rival series this season, especially in North America, not even to mention Europe. So it's been a great time for you guys to join me here for the second half of the broadcast. So thank you both for giving us the rundown on all the info of what's happened in those two matches. But now we need to throw things to our ending screen. It's been a great time so far. We had 4 interesting matches. We're going to have even more next week, so make sure to follow the channel. It is going to be Rival Esports. We also have Twitter, Discord, multiple different ways you can follow us as well. And we have the updated standings here. I'm sure a lot of people are probably wanting to go over those real quick. And I'll throw these to you guys if you want to kind of talk about which teams are really standing out to you after the end of week 2.
Sure. I mean, of course, you can't, after week 2, right? You can't discount Afterthought. I mean, watching them today, they won their series relatively handedly. It was a little scary at the end of this one, but they made it work. They had a 3-0 sweep early on today, and really, they are looking like the team we expected them to look like coming in. And I am interested in what Dazarin would say would be kind of that second-place team, because we've seen you can make a case for, of course, Charlotte, for even linked up a little bit, Bullsen, Compadres, RBG. Which team do you put at number 2 and number 3?
Right now, I have to go with Phoenix. I have to go with Charlotte Phoenix. They look very impressive. We saw them play earlier today. That's a very strong team. They've already taken down RBG, so you can kind of, if we were to put, we saw the head-to-head pretty much. It went 5 games, so it's very close. Bullsen is a very close third as well, and we'll see how how the standings develop as this rival series season goes on. But I mean, that top 2 spot's still up to grabs for a lot of teams, so no one is safe just yet. Every week matters here in the rival series.
Yeah, we have 4 more weeks of league play to go, and each one just going to be that much more important as we whittle down who is going to come out on top, go to those regional playoffs, and see who has a chance to auto-promote into the RLCS and who has to go into that promotion and relegation tournament against the bottom 2 in the RLCS. It's going to be a great time, and thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will see you next time for any rival series action on the main broadcast at twitch.tv/Rocket League, and you can check us out here on Saturdays and Sundays at Rival Esports.